thing back on.
From here we are going. So
Yes, sir.
no more takes. Anyway, so for this, you can look at me the whole. This I promise you, it's a conversation. It is podcast format. You can look at me. You can look at the camera the whole time when we have this conversation. So generally, my intro will be one, thank you for coming to the channel. Thank you for this opportunity to sit down and talk. So
Thank you for having me here.
oh, of course. So from my understanding, you're in the realm of fitness. You've done martial arts, and you're a cosplayer. So with that being said, please introduce yourself again. Look at me, look at the camera, and introduce yourself. Just tell us like who you are. I guess we got how long you've been cosplaying, how long you've been doing martial arts, and again the questions will come as I listen to you speak. Allow me to apologize in advance. I've gone back and watched plenty of my interviews. If I interrupt you, I promise you it's not on purpose. I got the attention span of a squirrel, so when I hear something interesting, I go, oh, hey, but
Yeah.
other than that, please introduce yourself and we'll just go from there.
My name is Roken Susano, and I've been cosplaying since the year 2022.
Okay. So 3 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I've been doing martial arts ever since I was in 4th grade. So there's not really a good, year when I started necessarily. I just know I've done it since 4th grade, and that's also when I started weightlifting as well too.
So if you don't mind me asking, so we'll start with the martial arts before we get into the cosplay, because you have years in that. So starting with, what was the original martial art that you started with? The original discipline that you learned first?
So
What disciplines do you know? How about that? What martial arts do you know?
yeah, so I know kickboxing. I'm really good with that, and I'm also really good with what's that? Oh, Muay Thai. I'm
Okay.
pretty good with that.
Kickboxing, Muay Thai. Okay.
Then there's also self-defense as well too.
Okay.
So that when I was in high school, that's when I started to learn how to box as well too.
For hand coordination?
Yeah, hand
Okay,
coordination.
there we go.
Then the last one I learned was some Jeet Kune Do.
Some Jeet Kune Do?
Yeah.
So out of all those disciplines that you know, what would you say was the hardest discipline for you either to learn or adapt to?
The hardest one was boxing.
Wow. Was it was it harder for you because of the hands? So I'm assuming if it was boxing, you're probably a very proficient kicker. Okay, so boxing is harder.
Because
Okay, yeah.
let me explain why. So the reason why boxing was harder than all the other fighting styles is because usually all other martial arts itself would basically focus on the foot coordinations and stuff like that. So with like the other martial arts that I've learned how to do and stuff like that, they would always have their legs like widened and all that stuff, so it was more like a wide space. But with boxing, you have to be like in a tight, narrow space. So like keep your feet together type of thing right there. You kind of feel off balance. But it's like to help protect you from taking, like, it's more so to help protect you from your body being exposed. Because with martial arts,
Basic hand usage when striking.
exactly.
Okay.
There's that, and then also like your body's supposed to be turned like sideways that way.
Yeah.
But
a lot of people don't know that.
Exactly.
So I do apologize for the 2 seconds on this tidbit. When I attempted to train in boxing, it was weird because again, I'm over here thinking I'm supposed to be standing in front of you. No, you shift. And my body is set up and hurt my back a lot. But no, it was. But I'll say this, just from that little knowledge right there, when I see somebody stand dead center of me in an altercation, it's like, oh boy, you went for a rude awakening. Anyway, please continue. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. But it was that right there, and then again, of course, I can't use my feet like to kick the opponent. So like, I see an opening, right, and then it's like, okay, I can kick them right there in the chest, but I'm not allowed to do that in a boxing match because it's only just hands on. And then another thing that was like really confusing at the time when I learned how to do boxing was that there was no backhand strikes. So I couldn't.
There was no what?
Backhand strikes.
Okay.
So that wasn't legal in the ring because whenever
I'm sorry. So when you say like backhand, you mean backhand like with your hands or with the feet? I just asking for clarification.
the hands.
Oh, so because of like jabs and hooks, you couldn't. Am I in this?
So like, so like, so this is like legal in other like fighting styles necessarily itself. The ones that I'm used to, is that you go like this right here, like that backhand.
Okay.
You're not allowed to do that in boxing.
So you said high school is when you started training boxing, correct?
Yeah.
So when from 4 years old to high school, like when did you make the decision to do boxing or did your parents? And the only reason I ask, like when did they realize that hey, striking with the hands isn't a strong suit, so let's throw them in boxing so we can establish that foundation?
So this is actually from an anime series called Hajime no Ippo.
Okay.
So when I watched that series and all that stuff, I just said, I want to do boxing.
So anime, again, connected to anime, and another, all right, tool. Okay, say less, say less. So, boy, and I say this respectfully, but you probably had a hard time your first couple of months in boxing because you're in that ring and you're just thinking, boy, I could kick your face off right now, but I can't because that's not a lot. So
Yeah.
it's something you really, really struggled with?
Yeah, with that, and then another thing too is that some of the techniques that I learned from other classes and for myself too, because after a while of like those years, because here's another thing I didn't mention too, is that all those years I was self-trained. So I had somebody else train me, but the problem is that it costs a lot of money just to do those trainings. So I just said, well, I could just watch YouTube videos and then other
Yeah,
teachers.
martial arts really isn't. I apologize.
No,
Not
no,
cheap.
no, you're good.
Not cheap at all.
They're really not.
So I'm pretty sure the price range is different from 4-year-olds to. So that being said, like how much would you say? I guess just a monthly fee is just to learn a martial art, like 100, 120 a month.
Actually, it's 140.
So it's more now.
Yeah,
Okay.
they've gone up on the prices for like older people and all that stuff. You'll definitely have to pay more, that's for sure. But for like kids, they don't have to pay that much, but it's still a lot. Don't get me wrong, monthly.
So allow me to ask you this: do you think? So it's safe to assume you're probably certified in teaching. Or you're just a combatant.
I'm just a combatant.
Say less. So what I was gonna ask, and I can still ask this: would you say it's harder to learn a martial art as an adult versus it is as starting off really, really young?
Yeah, I would say that because here's the reason why. Because adults aren't like children to where they're just always curious and always get to learn things. Because the problem is that adults have to spend more time of going to work to pay bills and then take care of others.
Life. Okay.
Yeah, so kids on the other hand, all they have to do is go to school, do their homework, and then they got the whole day to themselves.
Pretty much just do what they're told.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
So with that being said, right, how many bouts do you have under your belt?
Actually, I'm not ashamed to admit this, but I have 0.
But you have been in the cage, right?
Actually,
So when I say bout, whether it's a dojo, whether it's a certification, whether it's a cage, sanctioned, unsanctioned, like how many? I don't want to say confrontations, but just. You know,
okay. Sorry, I misunderstood that. 1 bout actually.
One bout?
It was in a cage fight.
So allow me to ask this. So, how old were you?
I was. This was after my trip to Japan, so 23.
23?
Yeah.
So what made you want to get in the... I've been in the ring. Let me tell you something right now. You know how bad you got to get your ass beat for even your coach to go, damn. Anyway, now.
No, you're
So,
good.
what made you want to get in the cage? Out of curiosity, like I'm not gonna say, and everybody's different, but I'm assuming you just learned all these disciplines just for self-defense only, correct?
Yeah.
So what made you decide, all right, let me get in the cage?
So the reason why I wanted to get into the cage was because I really wanted to put my skills to the test, once and for all. Because I have been in like some real life confrontations and necessarily like that, but I try not to engage them because people are unpredictable nowadays. Because somebody may pull out a knife or a gun.
Or a pistol,
or maybe some other guys will be watching just to back that other person up, regardless if they're right or wrong.
So you know how to, regardless of how it looks, you're very well at walking away from the fight, right?
yeah,
And I think so. This is something. Shout out to Jeffrey, by the way. 'Cause he allowed me to interview his teacher and his coach. I had them waiting for 30 minutes. What made me feel so bad, I was like, Jeffrey, you had me thinking this man was the same age as you and me. I'm really stupid. This man is out there.
no, you're good.
But no, he has years under his belt as well. And you know, one of the things he said, and these are people pretty much giving you the discipline to be violent when it calls for it. But one thing that stuck out to me in that interview when I talked to him was he was like, the best fight is the one you can walk away from. So I didn't realize this to an extent. But I didn't realize that 9 times out of 10, the tools, that's what most people call them, the tools that you guys learn in martial arts, they teach you it, but like they stress, basically the only time you should be using this is life or death. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So how about this? Because I know I just ran. How long did you train for, not enough, like to prep for that cage fight? Like, was it 8 weeks? Was it 16 weeks?
Man. So this actually took me 3 or 2 months just for me to prep for that fight.
Okay, so what did you go through, like physically, mentally? Like, did you have a coach for that prep? Or did you know who you were getting in the cage with?
Yeah. So here's the whole story about that.
Was it his first fight as well?
Yeah, it was.
Just making sure, because I know some people, they'll put you in a, I don't agree with this, I don't, but they'll put you in a cage with somebody who has 3 to 4 fights ahead. It's like, why would you? You're not supposed to do that, but I have seen it done. But anyway, yeah.
So I was preparing for that fight, right? And I was pretty nervous, but excited at the same time because I'm like, yes, I get to put the beating on somebody, right?
Finally.
Yes. So we was training, right? And our training session would be like 30 minutes or an hour or so necessarily. And we just be going at it like outside at one of these parks nearby, boxing, and he showed me the picture about who I'm gonna be fighting against, right? Okay. So I was preparing for it, and of course I had to be on a pretty strict diet myself too, and couldn't, eat certain things or drink certain things. So I had to just, watch what I did.
If I would offer you a donut, you probably would have kicked it out of my hand, huh?
Yeah. I mean, hey.
I had to throw that in there, man, on the donut board.
I mean, hey, sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. So when the fight.
I got another box in the background anyway. Kick these other 11 out of my head. I'm going to continue, I'm sorry.
No, you're good. So while I was preparing for that fight necessarily, right, we dropped down to the ring that I'm supposed to be going in, right? And then I'm prepping and I'm just getting ready. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm excited. I was like, getting pumped up, getting ready, right? And then my coach came to me saying that, hey, you know that guy you're supposed to be fighting, right? And I said, yeah, what's up? He said, he's not coming. And I'm just like, are you fucking...
Keep it going. Just make sure.
But he said that he's not coming. They don't know what's going on. They just said that he's not coming. So I'm just like, are you fucking serious, man? Like, I trained for months, had to be on a strict diet, and I don't get nobody. And I'm just like...
You didn't fight that day at all?
Actually, I'm getting to that point.
Okay, I'm sorry,
No, you're good. So they said that, well, there's one other person, but he has years of experience. So your chances of winning would be a 12% chance.
And you still got in the ring?
Yeah, I still got in the ring. I mean, listen, I don't care
Did
how...
you survive? I mean, duh.
Hey, I mean...
I was so sick. I had to think about it too. Yeah, that's not good.
No, you're fine. But I live to tell the tale. So I just said, you know what, fuck it. I'm gonna take it because I'm just like, I just want to get some action, right? I was bound and determined to say, I want to get a taste of what it's like to be in the ring, right? So I just said, put me in with him. And I got in and I was like, oh my God. Cause like my heart was pumping, right? Because this guy had years of experience. I wasn't nervous about the audience and all that stuff because I'm like, I'm not here for the audience, right?
Were you able to block out the noise? And the only reason I say that, so I know some people, right, like it's a public event. So,
Yeah.
So like regardless if it's dancing, about stage fright.
Yeah.
So were you able to block out the noise even though you were in the cage?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
But the problem was is that my coach was kind of like supposed to tell me what to do and all that stuff. I couldn't hear him because of everybody else.
So allow me 2 seconds, bro.
Go ahead.
The jiu-jitsu comp that I live streamed yesterday, and I even made a video about it just to. But my thing was, maybe you can make me help sensitive because I'm not a coach. So, but what's the point of screaming out strategy for you to hear? Your opponent can hear. Your opponent can hear it too. So here's why I asked you: if your opponent or you, let's say you're dominating the fight, right? You're mounted on top of your opponent, and you hear the coach do this, he's open, and you're already dominating the fight. If anything, okay, I need to tighten up more. You feel me? Like that's gonna help your opponent dominate you in the fight more. Like, what would you, from your perspective, based on, so I'm guessing it's not just in jiu-jitsu, but just in MMA. What's the point of calling out the strategy if both of you guys can hear it? I thought the point of strategy was doing it when you guys have the sit. Does that question make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. So, I guess, okay, from my perspective, I can say that maybe the coaches to basically support or just give motivation to his student itself to say, you got this type of thing. That's my perspective on this. Or secondly, it could be so like, if the student doesn't see the opening or see the opportunity that the coach can see, well, that the student himself can't see. Yeah, because when you're like in the fight necessarily, it's just like you're not thinking what you've learned from like the class itself. It's like everything kind of goes out the window when you're just like nervous and you're surrounded by a bunch of folks. So maybe the coach itself is just trying to let the student know, like saying, hey, don't forget what I showed you, type of thing. That could be my perspective.
Okay, gotcha. Anyway, so you're in the ring with the guy, your coach was, so allow me to ask this, right? When they said you had a 12% chance of winning, what did your coach advise you? Did he tell you not to do it, or did you still, just because you did all that prep and you wanted to get in the cage, regardless of what his advice was, you still was just like, hey, let me get in? Like, did he advise against you going? I would think a teacher or a coach would advise against that.
Yeah, he told me saying that, listen, like, it's all right, man. Like, I understand that, you was excited for this fight and all that stuff and your opponent didn't show up. It's unfortunate, but thing is, this guy has years of experience. It'd be best if you just stayed down. I'm all like, I appreciate you looking out for me, but I'm gonna take my chances. Yeah.
You were hungry.
Yeah, I was ready for it.
So what was your biggest takeaway from that bout?
So for one, I was really mad that this guy just didn't show up because I was like infuriated. So I was like, I'm gonna take my anger out on that guy. And so when
Did you, to an extent?
Yeah, I did. I mean,
So
I
you
got
your lick back a little bit. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm already gonna lose anyway. Guess what? You gonna have to earn this ass with the.
So when I heard the bell ring, right, I just immediately charged at this guy and then just started going, yeah. I did not give him a chance because my coach kept telling me over and over again before the fight began and saying, do not give him a chance. Just go in, everything you got. And that's exactly what I did. I went in and all that stuff and
Give him a run for his money. That's what it sounds like.
yeah, to an extent I did.
I got you. Yeah.
To an extent. But the problem was during the first few rounds, my headgear was on that stuff, so I didn't have the right headgear for the fight because he kept like punching me in the face and all that stuff, and the headgear kept going sideways and all stuff. So the referee had to like keep interrupting this fight, saying that, hey, listen, the headgear is this way and all that stuff. So I said, you know what, forget the headgear. Even though my coach told me saying keep your headgear on because the guy was skilled. So I'm like, listen, I don't care and all that stuff. The headgear's not doing justice for me.
And
Just take it off.
It's getting in the way because he has to keep stopping the fight anyway.
Yeah, and he also had headgear too. But this is the part where this got wild. So the guy, he had a headgear on, but when I took off my headgear, he took off the headgear himself too. And he had a nasty cut on the side of his face too. This wasn't from me, of course, this was from his like previous fights. So I just said, oh man, this guy took off the headgear even though he has a nasty cut on his face. So I paid all the respect to this guy.
Because he still went through with the fire. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. And even though he could have kept the headgear on all that stuff to protect him from that nasty cut, because I didn't want to, kill him or anything like that, or make the cut worse just to say, oh yeah, I got this guy. I'm vicious. I'm a savage. I ain't like that. So I came over and I hugged myself like saying, yo man, like thank you. And we just both paid each other with respect. So the first round was over with, and then my coach, talked to me and all that stuff, and I just said, I got this, man. Like,
is this something that you felt like you still wanted to, were you just one and done, or do you want to train to do some more?
So I gave thought about doing the bouts and all that stuff, but this is the problem though. The bouts itself, if I do compete in those competitions, I would have to pay for my coach for the training, of course. And then if I got hurt or injured or broken, limbs or anything like that.
So it's a risk. The risk ratio for the reward ratio it's not there right now.
Yeah, that's what it was because.
But you still train, obviously.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because, I want to stay fit. I want to make sure that, I'm able to protect myself in altercations. So whenever it comes down to a life or death situation, like you mentioned, I'll be confident to handle it.
So with that being said, not on no bragging rights or talking shit. So removing a bout from it, have you ever had to use your tools in real life situations?
No, I haven't. Because this one time, this was actually last year from this event that was going on in Raleigh.
Was it an anime con?
Nah, it wasn't that. It was Greek.
See how my face just yeah.
It was one of those Greek and Gubs, right? And I cosplayed as Spawn, which you saw my post on Instagram, right? It was a group of friends, all that stuff. I won the competition, all that stuff, and I said, all right, cool. And then all the friends, went out to eat and all that stuff. So I said, all right, I'll join. So I was walking down the street and all that stuff, and then a couple of people, I was in my cosplay still, of course, while I was walking. And then there was people that are saying that, oh man, that Spawn's so badass, man. I gotta get a photo with you and all that stuff. And people took pictures saying that love the outfit, give some love to the community. Some random ass nigga came up to my face saying, fuck Spawn, fuck your outfit. He got up in my face right here and all that stuff.
Did you want to headbutt him? I mean, a lot of people weren't prepared for a headbutt, especially if they.
I didn't want to headbutt him. I actually wanted to do more than just headbutt him. Yeah. I wanted to actually.
You didn't even know, dude, but he felt comfortable enough to come up in your space and disturb your peace, and you just. I really hate to play this card. What color was he?
He was black.
Of course he was. Anyway, so without sparking emotion in this one, it didn't go down like that.
Yeah, it didn't. So how I actually de-escalated the situation was, this part actually made me mad too, because I took off the helmet because I was ready to take off all my gear and all that stuff and beat this guy up. But the cops were standing across the street and all that stuff, so I'm like, why the fuck ain't you doing nothing about this? And I'm just like, okay, I can either whoop this guy's ass or I could.
Risk of going to prison because you're.
Yeah, so I just put my helmet back on. I said, man, I got time for this shit. So I literally went like this and pushed the guy out the way and just kept walking.
You ain't do nothing.
Nah, he didn't. And I pushed him and all that stuff. And guess what? As I was walking, the guy said that, man, I done been to fucking jail and prison and stuff. I don't fuck guys up like you. So I'm all like, but I put my hands on you, so why didn't you do nothing about it? And the second reason why.
I ain't no surprise.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
No, you good.
I'm gonna move on from this conversation because the picture I'm getting is.
Nah, but the second reason why I didn't fight this guy was because my outfits are not cheap at all too.
Hell no.
So that was the other reason why I didn't fight this guy.
So, that's what I'm gonna shift it to, the cosplay. And I'm gonna bring it back not to that, but just the martial arts.
No, you good.
Because I can't hear certain shit without getting my feelings, because it's kind of like. Anyway, but no, so how about this, right? Shifting the conversation. So, your very first, from what you can recall, your very first anime, what did you watch?
Dragon Ball GT.
Right? That was your first introduction to anime?
Yeah, Dragon Ball GT was the very first one that I've ever watched. Like the very, very, very first anime.
So you stand on business when it comes to GT when people say it sucks, huh?
I mean,
I I'm so sorry. Anyway, but
No,
yeah.
no, that's fine.
But obviously, if that was your introduction to it, you liked it and you continued to watch it. So I know some people they watch something and it's kind of like the fuck is this, and then they move on to something else. But I'm not knocking it. I really wish it was Dragon Ball, Panic, because boy, you came in through the, I say this respectfully, you came in through the poison. But anyway, interesting. So what was it about GT that stuck out to you that just said, hey, I want to commit to watching this more? From what you recall, I mean, I know you're probably a youngin and all that other stuff, but just what was so fat? And I'm not throwing shit.
No, you're good.
What was so fascinating about GT to where you wanted to continue watching it?
So Dragon Ball GT at the time, I didn't know that GT was actually
canon?
yeah.
Right, anyway.
I did not know that, but I really liked on how cool the transformation, you know, the screamings, the transformations, and also the choreography behind the fights and all that stuff. It was really, really good. To me, I mean, to me, may not be everybody else.
I'll go ahead and say this. I'm what's wrong with the anime community sometimes, or the cosplay community. I hear some shit that goes. But anyway, I'll work on that, y'all. I promise.
No, you're good.
Yeah. So you like the action? So I'm guessing it was a different feel from the traditional martial art movies you grew up watching, right?
Exactly. And
Who's
also,
your favorite out of Bruce Lee, Jet Li, or Jackie Chan? Just curious.
Bruce Lee for sure.
Understandable. Anyway,
Yes, without a doubt. Hands down.
But so you watch GT. So who's your favorite character out of the series?
Oh man.
Or just how about this? Well, the Dragon Ball series. Who's your favorite character? Because I'm pretty sure you went on to watch the Dragon Ball and the Dragon Ball Z and Super and all that, right?
Yeah, that was because after GT, that was when I started watching Dragon Ball Z. Because at the time, of course, we didn't have cables or Cartoon Network and all that stuff. Yes, we just had like VHS tapes and all that stuff. And my cousin was the one that had those VHS tapes, so I would come over to his house just to watch.
Shout out, cousin.
Shout out to my cousin. We would watch the Z, the GT, and then all the movies and all that stuff. I think the first Dragon Ball movie that I remember watching was the Cooler movie.
Oh, okay.
It was
the Revenge of Cooler or the Cyber one?
Revenge Cooler.
Say less, yeah.
That was the first one, and then I said, man, I like this.
Good choreography, music, transformation.
Mm-hmm. That was a classic right there. And then after that, my cousin asked me saying that there's also a part 2. You want to check that out? And I said, for sure, man. And then we watched the second one. And I said, I like that. I like that a lot.
So, Dragon Ball GT was your base. So, what made you want to just stick in and watching anime? Because again, if that was your base, I'm pretty sure you like to the traditional comic book heroes, Batman, Superman, all that. But what made you started to branch out and watch other animes? The only reason I ask, I'm gonna get to this. I promise you later. Your like for Berserk, right? I say respectfully that I didn't get into Berserk until 2022, but before you got to watching other anime, what? Hopefully this question makes sense, but what made you want to stick with anime and continue to watch it? Was it because you didn't have access to it at the time, and then when you were able to have access to it, whether it was the internet, watching the stream, or watching cable, is that what made you commit to watching it more? Because you had general access to it?
No. So the reason why I committed to watching anime was because anime, a lot of people think it's just a cartoon, right?
And it's not, but yeah.
It's really not. Anime just teach you so much about life, like friendship, pain, love, and also building a connection with other people, and also what you can accomplish out in life itself too. And it had a huge impact on me itself.
So what taught you the true concept of right and wrong? No, okay, no.
Oh man.
Morals and values.
The morals and values.
No, I'm asking what was your? So how about this? What was your big takeaway from that? If you were to put it into words, because again, you said that there was a. Did you learn more?
No, you good.
Forgive me. Not maybe emotions, but just right and wrong, chivalry. But did you learn more of those aspects watching anime than you did in real life? Only reason I ask because I know I did. You got some people who are really in cartoons and you doing real animating and you doing real life. That's why I was just like, man, you ain't as solid as you. Anyway, yeah, I'm fucking with you. Yeah.
No, you're good.
Yeah, but does that make sense when I format it? When I
Yeah.
format it? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it makes sense. Anime definitely had like a huge impact that other real life movies or real life,
Situations didn't.
yeah,
Okay.
definitely. Because you can just feel like those characters' pain and emotions like through the screen itself. And sometimes there's just no words that needs to be explained when you know what they're feeling, whether that's anger or pain or just love.
Sadness and shit. Okay,
Yeah.
got you.
And this other anime that I really thought had a huge impact on me, Berserk was definitely number one that had a huge impact on me that's actually saved my life.
So before you go ahead and mention that anime.
It's Fist of the North Star. I like to call it Hoto no Ken in Japanese.
So allow me to say that I've watched it. I played the game. I couldn't get into it. You know what I think really ruined it?
What?
My introduction to that was the Hollywood movie they tried to make. That disgrace right there. Yeah, it was on the same level as Dragon Ball Z. But it was just like, and you know that's what kind of bothers me about anime. When Hollywood gets a hold of it,
They milk it.
they fuck it up so bad. So I've only seen really one. I'm gonna say 1.5 because Yu Yu Hakusho did do his thing with the live stream to an extent. I know they did all they could, but the best live stream adaptation I've seen.
Was One Piece?
Well, no, I didn't watch that one.
Oh man, I heard a lot of good
Have
things.
you seen Rurouni Kenshin? The live action movie?
Didn't they just make a movie about it though?
No. They made 5. The first one came out in 2012,
man.
and the last one came out in 2023. They made 5 adaptations to that movie, or to that series. So that series has maybe 140 episodes. I said all that to say this. To me, now maybe since you gave that recommendation, I need to go watch One Piece. But to me, Rurouni Kenshin, the live action, I felt like they did it justice. And compared to the anime, I was like, because there were certain things that were and weren't needed in the anime, but when they put it into the movie, I was kind of like, and I say this like respectfully, I'm very hard to impress when it comes to certain things.
Yeah.
So I promise you, once you fully get to know me, if I make a recommendation about something, it's law. No, but no, now Yu Yu Hakusho, my bad,
No, they
Yu
good.
Yu Hakusho,
The CGI was alright.
yeah. So, but it was good, and it would be something I could sit down and watch without going yuck. But you were about to say?
I was about to say Ronin Kenshin is also called Samurai X, right? For the movie, right? Okay, now that you said that, my mom actually watched the movie and she said it was really, really good. She liked it, even though she's not a real huge anime person, but she really said that she recommended
So
it.
watching a live action version of it was kind of like, oh, okay, I can get into this kind of.
Yeah, that's what she liked. But if she watched other anime series such as Yu Yu Hakusho or didn't Attack on Titan make a live action one too?
I couldn't. If they did, I couldn't get into. So how about this? Since we're on the subject, because you said Fist of the North Star. So me and you are about relatively the same age. So you came up with a good introduction to the '90s anime. So that's Yu Yu Hakusho, probably Rurouni Kenshin, Dragon Ball, Zatch Bell, G Gundam, Gundam Wing, all that other stuff. So like, so you grew up watching them on probably Toonami and Adult Swim.
Yeah, I watched a little bit of that. Like that was actually the real open world of introduction to anime. Yeah, that was when I started saying, "Whoa!" So there's more anime besides just Dragon Ball Z. That was when I was like, "Oh man, I gotta watch it." Yes, that's a classic.
Is it movie? You don't see? I don't
Nah,
think Gene.
nah.
Gene is your favorite character?
Yeah, Gene's my favorite character.
Why? Is it because he's calm and collected?
Yeah, because Comic Collective, and not only that, but it's just like he's not just a sword fighter. He's also more like a and a strategic person. I view him as more like Miyamoto Musashi.
Yeah.
He's just like a one-man army type of guy
Okay, I got you.
that's famous for using 2 swords as well too, not just one but 2.
So, I didn't know these characters, not Mugen and Gene, but like Miyamoto Musashi, Nobunaga Oda Musashi. Okay, and I'm not just saying it to just stream Assassin's Creed, y'all. They Samurai Warriors. Now let me stop. But I didn't know these guys were like real life figures. But to bring it back to Samurai Champloo, you know what I kind of like but dislike at the same time? that anime was so impactful, but if you go back to the grit of it, that anime was only 24 episodes.
Yeah.
I really feel like if they brought back Samurai Champloo, I'd watch it again. But with that being said, I think I would hate it because they would try to modernize it. I feel like Samurai Champloo was ahead of its time. Cowboy Bebop was ahead of its time because you got certain animes that have 100+ episodes, but the really impactful episodes, Evangelion, you know,
Oh yeah.
those animes were only 24 episodes.
Right.
So, but anyway, so how about this? Because I know I'm rambling, forgive me. The anime of back then, we'll say the 80s and 90s, do you feel like the anime of today can compete with the 80s and 90s? I don't think that they can. I've asked Jeffrey this. I've asked pretty much anybody that I've interviewed as a cosplayer. I've asked everybody this question, but do you feel like the anime of today, the trending anime of today, whether it's My Hero, Attack on Titan, a couple of them, Jujutsu Kaisen, do you feel like they're competing with the anime of back then?
Only a few.
Only a few?
Yeah.
Okay, so from your perspective, why?
So I feel like the reason why some of these animes don't necessarily get like too much into the 80s and the 90s anime is because, like you said, there's less episodes, but for the other anime series, they go on for a whole entire list. But thing is, they know how to like continue where they left off and still have like the same impactful emotion and just sort of like, how do I put it?
Give it substance?
Yeah, give it substance. They know how to like just carry on where they left off, and then you still saying, oh hey, you know, this guy, you know, lost his friend, all that stuff. What's he gonna do about it? Kind of like Vinland Saga. Like that one was actually really good.
Man, let me tell you something. But then again, too, the Dolphin just kept his ass at the house. Anyway, I'm just saying. And you know you're there. But anyway, things happen for a reason.
Yeah.
You read the manga on that, out of curiosity?
Oh yeah, I read the
have,
manga.
so you know there's more to come then.
Yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
So how about this? I asked every cosplayer. So what would you say are the big three of the 80s and 90s? Part one of the two-part question.
3?
Yeah, the big three of the 80s and 90s. If you had to pick the top three that when you mention these anime titles, like they're gonna also think of these other ones like Sailor Moon, the G Gundam, Gundam Wing. Yeah, like what would you say were the top three of the 80s and 90s?
For me or for everybody else?
What did your perspective? This is your truth.
Okay,
Plus
so
you was around during that time anyway. So
actually, I was born 2000.
okay, say less.
Yeah, so no,
I
you're
don't know
good.
what I'm talking about. Somebody gonna laugh when they watch this part. Go ahead.
Sorry. So for me, definitely Berserk, number
Okay,
one,
got you.
and then Fist of the North Star, the 80 ones, not the later ones like the 2000s, and then the last one for me, that's a tricky one. I would have to probably say Wing Gundam.
So, leading back then, what would you say are the big three now that are not a disappointment?
Definitely Vinland Saga, that's number
Okay.
one, and then Jujutsu Kaisen, which everyone likes. No, you're good. For me, it's Black Clover.
Okay. So those are the leading right now of today versus. So which one's better though, based on these three and these three?
The old
Y'all
school,
heard it here first.
the old school anime.
So now to the real meat and the potatoes and the dessert. So cosplaying, you said you started in 2022.
Yeah, that's when I started.
So what was your very first cosplay?
Man, my very first cosplay was actually Ryu Hayabusa from Ninja Gaiden.
Really?
Yeah.
So how about this? That way I know how to close. So how many people have you cosplayed as? So you got Ryu Hayabusa, you got Spawn, you got Guts, you got Akuma. I pay attention as much as I can.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait a second. What was the last part
So
you said?
so you got Ryu Hayabusa,
Uh-huh.
you got Spawn, you got Guts, you got Akuma from Street Fighter.
Yep.
Okay.
Asta from Black Clover. That's what I've done. Alucard from Hellsing. Then Kakashi from Naruto. Then
You have at least 10 of these.
yeah, pretty much.
Okay, so we'll start with the first one. So your very first time cosplaying. So what stuck out about Ryu? Like, what did you like about Ryu Hayabusa? That we was like, all right, now I need to get the trip ready and cosplay. But yeah, like what stuck out about you? So you like the video game series, obviously.
Yeah.
So why'd you like him as a character?
Um,
Everybody you could have cosplayed as in that series.
So the reason why I cosplayed Ryu Hayabusa was because one, it was within my budget at the time, so that was number one.
He headband, face back in time, 2 weeks ago.
And then the second reason why I wanted to do Ryu Hayabusa was because at the time I really liked Ninja Gaiden so much. Because you remember that NES one, the one that was so hard to beat. I really liked that one, even though it was hard.
Rage Quitting was bad today. Playing the original 1990s and 2001s, whether it was on PlayStation 2 or Xbox, man. And you know what makes so bad? You couldn't adjust the settings on those back then like you can now.
Oh no, the worst part was that you couldn't even continue. You had to go all the way back from the beginning. So it didn't matter how far you got into the game. Say you was at the final boss. Guess what? Your ass gonna have to go all the way back to level 1. Those retro games were brutal. But I mainly played a lot of older games necessarily, and the other reason why I liked the game too was because Ryu always got the girls every single time.
So you wanted the baddies, huh? So let's
Pretty much, yeah.
So if you allow me to ask this, because so Akuma, hear me out, right? So I'm not gonna go into this because I don't want to sound ignorant like I just did with the whole 90s, 2000 thing. No, stop.
No, you're good.
So you said that your least favorite, you said it was boxing or karate. Correct, just correct me if I'm wrong, as far as learning the style.
Karate.
Okay, so you know how proficient he is in traditional karate though?
Yeah, but
What stuck out about that was how powerful he was. Huh?
nah,
Presence,
nah.
symbol on the back.
Yeah, the symbol on the back was pretty cool.
Okay, so what stuck out about him that you said, hey, I want to cosplay as this person?
So the reason why I like Akuma so much is because one, Akuma isn't just any fighter that just always kills somebody just for the fun of it necessarily. He challenges to see if you're deemed worthy to fight him necessarily.
I don't know, the man telling me to die 1,000 deaths, some word. But anyway, 1,000 times? But anyway, yeah.
Yeah, he was pretty worthy on that and all that stuff, and also he had that, what's the word? He had charisma necessarily, just the personality.
Running the fade, you right. So, how have you kept up with the game series?
Oh yeah.
So, how do you like his development from? And I get it because everybody has to get older. How do you like his development from the beginning? You know, I guess you could trace it back all the way to Sega to now, like an older Akuma versus how he is now. He kind of resembles, like with the beard and the stature, like the Oni that he would originally transform into. So I think originally with time he turned into that. Like, what do you think of the Akuma now versus?
So crazy thing about it is I don't think that this is his Oni form because how you play Street Fighter 4, like Ultra Street Fighter 4, to where he transformed into Oni. So those are like two different things. Akuma hasn't fully transcended to his inner demon necessarily. He still has somewhat of control necessarily. He's definitely more powerful, that's a given fact, and more advanced. But I feel like with that one, it's more so of him getting older, because like you said, everybody's got to get old somehow. So I like how Street Fighter mainly focused on him looking more like the old man Akuma, more so of him just, you know, always looking like he's young and all that stuff, thinking that he's going to live forever type of thing. Everybody's got to go somehow type of thing. So I feel like, to me, Akuma isn't necessarily a full-on demon. He's still somewhat of a human, because if he really wanted to kill everybody in Street Fighter universe, he would.
In a way, again, he didn't have no problem running the fade. My favorite character was Cody, but that was because of the Final Fight series. So, moving on, what stuck out to you about Spawn? And the only reason I say that, whether it's physique, whether it's they put on.
Yeah.
That's not to me, and I say this respectfully to anybody, but that's a hard cosplay to pull.
Yeah.
So like, what stuck out about Spawn's where he said, "All right, now let me commit to this character and do cosplay"?
So back to high school again, right?
Okay.
So I didn't just like Bruce Lee and then started getting into anime when I was in high school. I also got into Spawn. Like he was actually my favorite comic book superhero out of everybody.
Anti-hero, really. But yeah, he was,
Yeah, he's definitely anti-hero. The reason why I like him is because he's not like these other superheroes that always says, "Oh, we fight for justice," or "We must protect the people." Get this whole fucking dialogue.
Fuck your shit up just because,
Exactly. He got right to the point, and he did not fuck around.
And you know what, too? It wasn't just traditional ground and pound. Like, he pulled out the Thule if he did it, too. That was like,
He was packing heat. And the reason...
So you must have liked them putting him in the Mortal Kombat series, huh?
Oh, yeah, for sure. And the other reason why I like Spawn himself, too, was because he was like tough guys, pretty much, right? He didn't want to show his love or emotions or feelings necessarily like that, but it's like deep down inside, he cared about other people itself. He's like Guts, to where he doesn't show his emotions, but deep down inside, he really does care for other people. And another reason why I like him as well too is because he resembles on how humans should be. No matter what you've done, whether that's Robin. Yeah, Spawn. Because Spawn himself, he's done many things in his past that he's not proud of, and he's even mentioned it too. But he did say that it's never too late to, do the right thing. And Spawn showed that he redeemed himself, because I don't know how far, and sorry for this spoiler alerts, but in the comic, after he killed Malbolgia and all that stuff, and brought Angela, the one Hellspawn hunter that was supposed to kill Spawn, he pretty much brought her to heaven. And even though heaven didn't want him because saying, you've done all these terrible things, you're nothing but Hellspawn, but when they saw what he did, like bringing Angela back to heaven itself, just saying, I'm just here to drop her off. That's it.
I've seen it all. Like, I know Spawn pretty much reset the damn world. Like, he took over both the realms of heaven and hell. And then, I don't know how long it's, correct me if I'm wrong, but like, they took a break from Al Simmons because there was originally a new guy that took up the mantle. And then it went back to, said Al Simmons is correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, Al Simmons is the original Spawn.
Yeah, and then I remember when it was all said and done towards the end. I know this because of Death Battle. They were the real spoiler. But when he got in the power, however he did through all that, I know when he fully came into power, he reset pretty much everything like a big bang, and he came back as human. Like, you know how badass you gotta be like, all right, God can't fuck with me, the devil can't fuck with me, so here's what we gonna do. I'm gonna take my life back like you motherfuckers should have gave me in the first place. Anyway, yeah.
No, you're good.
No, I got you. But so allow me to ask this, because I want to, if I can, I really do want to touch on the Japan trip, because there's a, not an emotional guy, I'm lying, I'm telling you. But there was, Japan was very, very beautiful, but we'll get to that in a second.
Okay.
Guts. I'm gonna tell you right now, if you run into a real Griffith fight, you gotta run the fade. It's taken this man 40 years to still not fully get his lick back. I'm like, you would think the writers don't like him. So
No, you're good.
Past the rambling, right? From Guts' birth to adulthood, dude, you would think, I don't think the writers like this dude. Like, and I get it. He's a badass in his own right. Killed off 100 men. Was it 100 or 1,000?
Yeah, 100 men.
Okay, killed off 100 men
in just one night.
Yeah. What was it? Bashed the Claymore. And was it 1,000 demons before it did the? I forgot the lore, but like in the Berserk series, once his blade had touched X amount of number of demons.
His blade exists in the astronomical plane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember. But anyway, so I'm not taking away from the accolades, but like, what was it about that character? I wouldn't want to be Pippin, I know that much. But anyway, but no, like, what made you like Berserk. I'll say this and I'm gonna shut up and I'm gonna let you tell your take.
Go ahead.
I like Berserk. That aspect of betrayal from Griffith really touched me. Like you had these band of people that were willing to sacrifice themselves for you, and you actually did just that to them.
Yeah.
They loved you. It was like, well, you guys were. I know that's not really the bias of it. There's more into it, but it was just like the human nature for the aspect of power. What are you willing to sacrifice to get it? Now, I kind of get the credentials. You know, he was like maimed, and you know. So I get it, but it was just like.
And also didn't mean to cut you off.
You know,
But what was really sus about it too is that you know how Griffith would always say to Gus, like saying, "Now you belong to me, Gus." When he said that, I was like, "That's a little suspicious right there." Like,
don't you find that suspicious?
Like-
But what I liked it because again, I felt like that was the perfect. I don't know the word for it, like resemblance of betrayal. People, that's why I like it. Like, if you want to really feel some type of way about, well, why did you like the Berserk series? There's so much symbolism and meaning to that manga. You can't just specifically put it on one thing. Why did you like it?
The reason why I liked it was because it shows on how, like you said, society is in this day and age. Like, I don't know if you remember from the beginning of the Black Swordsman when you read the manga and all that stuff about the priest or was it the priest or was it the mayor, whoever it was. So in the beginning, he showed like explaining to Guts after he was captured because he killed one of the Corker's men and all that stuff. He was captured and tortured. He was saying that, listen, I gotta protect my people and I gotta make sure to serve the Snake Lord himself, or else he's gonna tear up my whole village. Those women that you saw in the carriage, like, you remember how you saw those women on the carriage? He was supposed to serve.
There's a lot of horrifying shit that we saw. But anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry,
No, you're good. And then Guts mentioned, like, saying that you're protecting the town or you're protecting yourself. So when he said that, he knew that Guts was telling the truth. And then you have the king from Midgard itself. He had actual feelings for his own biological daughter. And it just shows and portrays on how human in this society are. People are sick, cruel, selfish, and they aren't worthy to be called humans. They're just monsters.
yeah.
So, and people hate Griffith so much, and I 100% agree, but there are people that are worse than Griffith. Wild. Have you gotten to the manga?
Yeah, I have, but
It's Wild, and then also Devion. I think I pronounced that name correctly. You can't. I'm being honest.
Okay, so allow me that.
Okay.
I gotta be careful what I say because of YouTube.
Yeah, same.
But. The actions that he did, it wasn't even the action, it's just. It's about to get funny because it's very serious.
no, you go ahead.
First of all, you kill all the homies. Then you fuck my old lady in a pool of dead homies sea of blood into a vegetative state at that. You literally had a woman did it so good she went retarded. I was like, damn. Damn. And I still ain't got revenge yet after almost 4 decades. I don't know. That's just my argument.
Yeah, and oh no.
As long as I get it back.
Hey,
Yeah.
no. Listen, I'm not saying Griffith is not number one. He's definitely number one, but I'm saying that like there's people that are way worse than he is. Like,
So there's a list. We'll just agree there's a list.
yeah, a list. I guess I didn't word that correctly.
No. It was, bro, it's your truth. It was just like from that perspective, it's just like this dude should have been dead. Like he's been around for so long, he could have had a daughter or something. I'm just anyway. That's so funny.
Right.
Anyway, but no, there's a powerful message in Berserk. And again, you cosplay. How do you feel hoisting that sword around with one arm?
Actually,
How heavy is it?
it's not that heavy.
It has to be at least 15 pounds.
I mean, it has some weight. Don't get me
You
wrong.
realize people who probably don't work out probably wouldn't be able to pick that thing up with one arm.
No.
Okay, exactly.
I've
Even when I looked at it, I said I have to hold it a little bit with 2 hands first before I go. Yeah, you feel me?
and
What is it
then
made of? Foam it's not. I know it's not steel. But what is it made of?
EVA foam.
Okay, how much you pay for that? It wasn't cheap. I know.
No.
Okay.
I had to literally buy nothing but peanut butter, Joe sandwich, and crackers for months just to be able to afford that.
Got you. But it was worth it, right?
Yeah, it was worth it.
You ate that diet and still trained?
Yeah.
So you got a good discipline out there. Phenomenal.
Yeah, it was not easy. And then also I couldn't go to as many cons and conventions because I was also saving up to go to Japan as well too. So I went almost an entire year without
Doing events.
yeah. And
But the reward. So we'll move over to Japan. So what parts of Japan did you go to? Was it one? So I did a multi-city trip. I went to 2. Did you just go to one area? Or did you go to multiple?
of my first trip, when I landed,
So you've been more than once.
yeah,
Okay.
I've been twice.
How often do you plan on going?
Just whenever I feel like it. So if I want to say, hey, I want to go to Japan, I'll just, save up money, get a plan, and then do it from there.
So forgive me, brother, because again, Japan was beautiful.
It really was.
There's something I'm gonna say in the interview because it's funny, but something you had said reminded me of the movie American Gangster. And I'm just gonna say this with Denzel Washington in it.
Yeah.
But he was like, I have a product that is so potent and so powerful. It's in high demand. The reason it's better than the other brands, but how I'm competing and beating my competition is I have a better product for almost half the price. I feel like that's what happened to you when you went to Japan. You got a better product for a better price. Come back to the States in general, and you like, this is some bullshit. I was like, so with the shit that you discussed before, trust me when I say I get it. Because on the way back, my big ass teared up. I was like, I didn't. But anyway,
No, you're good.
I am so sorry. But what parts of Japan did you go to?
So like I said, when I landed, the first stop was Tokyo, and this is my first time ever going, and I have no friends and nobody to go with at the time. I went by myself.
Google Translate.
I had to use that because I did have my substitute teacher teach me and all that stuff, but it costs way too much money just to teach me the Japanese. So I had to unfortunately, cancel my.
I bet you're happy to be like, yes, hi, yeah. Every time you just, that's what they did for me. Go ahead.
Nah, I didn't do any of that. But I used the Google Translate when I was going around places. Some of them actually spoke pretty good English too, so I didn't have to use it.
So I went to Japan. I went to Tokyo and Okinawa. Have you ever been to New York?
Nah.
So I'll say this. I feel like Japan was a watered down New York because I saw some Brazilians there, some Australians there, and you are right. The amount of people who could speak English fluently, it was kind of like, damn. Okay. Now when I went to Okinawa, that was a different story. I did use my Google Translate more. So
Yeah.
what places did you visit while you were in Tokyo? Did you cosplay a little bit while you were out there?
That was actually my second trip to Japan. So the first time I went, I was supposed to get the Kyoto because I actually love traditional. So I heard that Kyoto was more traditional and more of like the olden days of how Japan was. So I really wanted to go there. So this is actually a funny story. So after I got to Tokyo, that was where I landed, right? I had to figure out where I need to get to for my next flight, and I had to transfer my dollars to yen, right? So I had to find where to go to get there, and then the other problem that I had too is that I need a pocket Wi-Fi or one of those SIM cards because there was no reception while I was there. And I was just, running around like a wild goose. All like, what do I do?
Panicking,
Yeah, because I only got 3 hours to get to my flight and all that stuff to get to Osaka, and then after I found the money exchange too, and then got my pocket Wi-Fi because I had to carry one of those, and those things were really annoying. You have to literally charge those things every single night. So it's like, if it's dead, you're fucked. And I had to really just keep that with me at all times, which I really hated those things.
I did a multi-city trip that way. I didn't have to run into that. Like, I'd just much rather have my tickets already paid for and generated. But so what did you like about traveling through Tokyo City? It was very light. So it was. Oh damn. Okay, let me rephrase that. I'm so sorry.
No, you're good.
But if I misspeak, forgive me, but I'm pretty sure we ate like kings when we were out there for dirt fucking cheap.
Yes.
So a 3-4 platter meal was probably like 14, 15 US dollars. You come back here and that's like an 80, 90, almost $100 plate here in the States.
Yeah.
I ate so good when I was out there. And I think the only expensive part about going to Japan is just the plane ticket, depending on what season and when you go. To me, the hotels were fairly cheap. Now, cab fare was a little, well, in Tokyo it was, but
Actually, I could tell you quite a few things that were expensive. So, kimonos, they're.
oh, so you did your thing out there. Okay, bet.
I wanted to, but I was like, nah, that's way too much money. There's
You gonna do
those.
it one day though too.
Absolutely,
Okay, I got
brother.
you.
Absolutely. Another thing that's expensive is like those tourist attractions, those go-karts. Those are pretty expensive. They're like $32 or $40, but they really don't go that fast either. Then there's also the seafood restaurants, which I was shocked because I'm all like, Japan's an island, so wouldn't that mean seafoods would be a lot cheaper? But they're really not.
So my saving grace was when I googled some of them, because you could get this. It really depends on the establishment you went to, but like a sushi platter, and I had to learn currency because there was a time, and they were honest about it, but I went to certain restaurants overpaying. They were like, no, you don't need like you could pay for certain foods just with like the coins. You didn't need the dollar bill yuan or yen or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
So like I would go like this, and then they would point to my coins, and I'd be like, oh shit, here you go. but not yes, depending on where you went, but Tokyo was so vast. Like there was no way that you weren't gonna have a good time. But there was no way that there was no. I'm sorry, y'all. For those in the group, when they watch this part, they're gonna be like, I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're good.
But I love Tokyo. Now, you went to Tokyo and where else, brother?
So, I actually didn't stay in Tokyo.
Okay.
Take that back. I did stay in Tokyo only because I missed my flight.
Gotcha.
And I had to figure out what I was gonna do because my hotel was in Kyoto.
Gotcha.
And it was gonna take me 6 hours for me to get there. So I was like, man, what am I gonna do? So I left the airport and I was walking down the street and I was trying to get like a random bystander, and thankfully this guy was so nice. Like I said, listen, man, I missed my flight and all that stuff. I need to get to a hotel, but it's 6 hours away. Can you call my hotel and let them know I'm gonna be a day late? And
he looked out.
Yeah, he did.
So
and
you wouldn't experience that type of kindness in the States.
Probably not, no.
No, I know.
Because the other issue was that I didn't have a way to like call them because I didn't have I had their number, but the thing is,
Didn't know how to use. Trust me, I know exactly what you're saying because so my niche is fitness and all that. I checked out most of the gyms out there, but there was this powerlifting gym I wanted. Make a long story short, same situation. Somebody called, and they set me up, and I was able to utilize that gym. But I think we're gonna get to this part. I promise.
No, you don't.
The people there, not just the population of Japanese people, but the people in Japan, and maybe their kindness level, it was beautiful. And the only reason I say it like that, like I legit get emotional when I talk about it, because it's kind of like the shit that we face here in the States. It really kind of like damn, it makes you angry a little bit. Like Yo, and I'm not making it about race or anything like that, but it's just like I didn't experience, and I'm gonna call it beauty. Just though I didn't experience that level of beauty until I went over there.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of sad because again, all jokes aside, you heard the term passport bros or passport, and like, it's kind of like
that.
I kind of see why people travel now because again, you don't. Taken away from that, the amount of assistance and help, like these people generally wanted to help people out. You receive genuine assistance without wanting personal gain back.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I mean, there were some people that ignored me and all that stuff. I guess because they made stereotypes of thinking how we are necessarily as Americans or just as Black folks. I don't know, but I didn't take that personal, so that guy looked out for me, and he was nice enough to take me to a hotel to stay for the night and get this too. Like you said, the kindness that we have here doesn't really exist over there.
Yeah.
Those people, they were nice enough to make sure that I had a taxi to take me back to the airport so I can get to my destination because they said that there's actually a train that I can take to get to Kyoto. So I said, oh really? And they helped me out so much.
You wouldn't have gotten that here.
No.
So your experience in Kyoto, talk about it.
So this was my very first time being in Kyoto. So once I got there, I just said, I finally made it. And it took me 6 hours for me to get there. I had to figure out where to go and all that stuff. And even
pretty sure you took a lot of pictures on the way there.
Yeah,
I know you did.
I absolutely did. So after I did that, I had to ask people, saying, can you help me get directions? There was this one beautiful chick, and I was mad that I did not get her social media, try to like rizz up on her. I guess I was just, trying to focus on trying to get to my destination before time runs out.
So love, didn't you? I'm sorry.
I did at first sight.
I would have. I knew that. Yeah.
But she.
Careful, like, oh shit. Anyway.
But she was so pretty, and I said, hey, excuse me, can you help me to get to such and such? And she guided me, and she was nice. Like I was still so mad. I'm like, gosh, why did I get that number? But when I made it,
release the social media and be like, hey,
no, you're good. So after I got there, I fell asleep right as soon as I got into my hotel.
The travel fatigue.
Yeah, it was exhausting. I woke up and I said, I'm hungry. I want to get some food. And I went to a restaurant, then ate, and
immaculately, I know you did.
Yeah, it was so good. I only had to pay actually $7 for
US dollars compared to and that's what I'm saying. Like. Anyway, go ahead. Yeah.
No, you're good. The portion of food, I had like a bowl of ramen and then some chicken and all that stuff.
Me too.
Yes. It was so good. Chicken was the best, and then there was like the raw egg. Like, I don't know why, but it was so weird. You would see like a bowl, like just an actual egg, and you just crack it and then you just eat it. I was hesitant, so I just mixed it up with the noodles, and I said, I don't know, here's something that doesn't make sense. How exactly is it safe for Japan for them to eat raw eggs, but here in the United States is not safe?
Man, look, we can go down a rabbit hole in that. I'll say this. I think the basis towards the end of this interview is that y'all, and it don't gotta be Japan, get your passport, travel, eat well, meet different people, whatever your niches is, your life is, experience life outside the States. Again, my niche was fitness and content creating, and also there was a promise that I had to fulfill getting out there. Promise was halfway kept because I went out there by myself. Anyway,
I'm curious. I said I'm curious now.
I can speak on it, but can't speak on it too much.
You got some secrets, huh?
Don't we all, brother?
I'm not ashamed to admit my secrets.
But there's someone that we promised that we would go, along with other purposes. But that promise was like, so I went last year, but that promise was made about 4 years ago, so in 2021 and 2021.
Yeah.
Well, and I told Chris and I told Tristan this, mainly Chris, he know better not gotta say shit either if you see me talk. But no, Chris was a really big factor in helping me keep that promise. Chris is a really big factor in a lot of my podcasting. I always give people their flowers. Chris was my very first guest. I don't cosplay, but the amount of people that I've met through him, the amount of camaraderie and warm welcome I've gotten from you guys has all been because of Chris, because he has that. It can be a good or bad thing. Me and Tristan kind of addressed it in our podcast one time.
Yeah.
Chris has just the ability to, depending on who, he has the ability to approach people and have that inviting energy. I'm not going to speak for Tristan, I'm only going to speak for me.
Yeah.
Again, if you want the time to watch that interview, I said watch it. But I am very guarded. The reason why I even felt comfortable enough to ask you is because we are mutuals and we know people. If you're associated with a Chris 9 times out of 10, 9 times out of 10, you're a good person because Chris is a good person. Now, there are some obstacles. There are some obstacles in the between.
Yeah, absolutely.
But bringing it back to the Japan trip, Chris gave me some information that I needed. And because of that information, as half kept as it was, I was able to fulfill that promise. So I was able to go to Japan. I was able to go to Tokyo. I was able to go to Okinawa. And I had felt something I hadn't felt in a really long time. And I think that's my trip to Japan was more about keeping a promise than actual leisure. But because of his help, I was able to keep that. Because of Chris's help, and again, he was my very first guest. And this was before I started stuff. Okay, let me interview powerlifters, bodybuilders, martial artists, cosplayers. I had just started with that camera phone. I didn't have like my podcasting gear, my streaming gear. In the realm of content creating, I have come a long way. But I said all that to say this: Chris played a major part in my development, because again, regardless, you know, some people ain't gonna come fuck with your shit unless you're a high-end brand or a high name.
Absolutely.
I can't tell you how many people, because I have I know it may not seem like it because of how I've been conversating and talking, but I have social anxiety really, really bad. Like if I don't know you, if I don't know of you, I'm not gonna come talk to you. I feel like everybody has this warning sign over them that says just leave me the fuck alone, and I do. When I met you at that con, badass cosplay as Akuma, it was just, I'm just gonna play this card real quick. As an African American that cosplayed that, I felt like you represented that character well. Again, I feel like my perception on things are a little toxic to the community because I feel like certain cosplays, and it's not true. I'll admit that it's not true, but with certain cosplays, I feel like you have to have certain looks, a certain physique. I felt like when you cosplayed as Akuma, you met that requirement in my mind. But anyway, I felt your energy out, and there was a level of safe that I felt. But Chris has networked a lot of things, and he has assisted with a lot of things. He assisted to me getting to Japan. Now, I said all that to say this because I know I rambled.
Oh, you did.
I want all of our friends in the circle that we are part of to experience that. Again, that was a beautiful experience.
It really was.
We all come from many different walks of life, brother, I know. But that would be an experience, and I know there's obstacles, finances, and ability, and passports, and all that.
And also people that's going to actually take it serious, too.
Yeah. But I would want everybody that we know, because we have a big enough group, and they seem like, when I mean well-rounded, like they don't leech off of each other, they don't, okay, well, if you don't go to the con, I'm not going to go to the con. Well, if you can't pay for my ticket, like, I don't feel like we hang around people like that. I feel like we hang around people that hold, to me, it's just my assessment, but we hang around people that can hold their own weight so they wouldn't be am I making sense?
Yeah, because like, you don't want to be around people that are toxic, that want to take from you, because what are they giving back to you?
Exactly. So with that being said, like, I feel like this is just a dream. I don't know if it'll ever come true.
Never say never until you
We'll
try.
see, but for all of us to go out to Japan, like, we would all have to agree, you know, on one spot. But like prime example, shout out to KJ. Hopefully, I'll be working out with him when I get back. But he is in the process of getting his passport so he can go to Japan. Regardless of his why, when I went out there, we're all cosplayers. Like we want to go to a place that fits our niche.
Yeah.
Him going to Japan will fit his niche. Like I can see myself going to Japan out with KJ one day. Hopefully, me and Trishan will still go this year. That's still on the table. If I had to get the fuck out of you. But anyway, but no, that's still on the table. But even Chris, Wolf, Cam, Diana, Pharaoh. You know, like you guys, my cosplay community and I consider family, have made me feel welcome in a world or a society I never felt too welcome. So, but me experiencing Japan was so beautiful. It was kind of like that is something I would legit, but that was something I would want to experience with somebody else. I can experience that by myself. I'm perfectly okay with that.
Oh yeah.
But with the people that I'm around, it's kind of like, y'all, you guys are planning for these cons out of state and all that. How do y'all feel about like just really going to Japan? And the only reason I say that, and maybe I can manifest that with this interview, but how would y'all feel about like just going to Japan as a group? And even though we're all cosplayers or fitness influencers or whatever, Japan will fit whatever our niche is. Whether it's martial arts, whether it's cosplay, whether I went out to a powerlifting gym when I went out.
To Japan?
Yes.
Wow.
So Japan, depending on where you go, but that's just my dream. If that doesn't happen, I'm okay. But I know what I'm not going to stop, and it sounds like you're not going to stop doing it either.
Nah.
I'm going to continue to go to Japan because, again, like that movie American Gangster, that's blue magic. And the product is cheaper and better over there.
Also, it's not just Japan that I want to visit too, because actually, believe it or not, this year I'm supposed to be going to South Korea because I'll say that another reason why I like Japan too is that I've made some connections while I was in Japan. So I have a guy that actually teaches sword class. His name is Karabika, not the one from Yu Yu Hakusho, but his actual name is Karabika, and I think he's like the 6th generation of his family and all that stuff. I forgot what his last name was, but he introduced me to his class and all that stuff, and I felt welcomed. And that last year when I went again to see him again, I said, hey, can I see you again on stuff so we can meet to do some more training and also for some video? And so he was like, yeah, sure, I'm down for that. And then we met, and then we actually had a really good time seeing each other again. And that was when I met other people besides just him. Because I had other people, but they was just doing their own thing, just going different places and all that stuff. And what's crazy is those people came up to me and sort of like talking to me, asking me if I need help to go different directions, and we engaged a conversation.
And you was able to network?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So, I mean, I got invited to nightclubs and people paid for my drinks and all that stuff. And
so you lived live.
Yeah.
I don't want to say lit, but anyway, it felt alive and it felt good.
Absolutely. I mean, like here in the United States, I never kind of got that experience because just more like I'm in the corner type of thing. But if I'm like out there and all that stuff, then it's just like I attract the right type of people that enjoy my energy. More so, you know how like in the United States you put out a good vibe energy, kind of like this.
People try to fucking kill the fuck out of them?
Yep, like the guy from Spawn, like when I was cosplaying Spawn for the Love the Community, and he came out of nowhere. He didn't like my energy because I was doing good, so it was just like he wanted to destroy that ego. And of course, this is something that I read from Bruce Lee, is that he would always say, learn to control your emotions, because otherwise people use them against you. So I learned from that.
I don't know what I would have done in that situation because I was not in that situation. Most people say what they would have done in that situation don't need, so I don't know what I would have done then. I think I like it.
No, you're fine.
As soon as you told me you got in your face, I was just like, In closing, out of everything that we discussed, do you have any closing thoughts? Like, did you like the energy? Did you like the vibe? Did you enjoy yourself with this interview?
Absolutely.
What do you think about podcasting style, brother?
My honest opinion is that sometimes I sound like a jackass when I'm giving these interviews and all that stuff. Because it's just words can't really be put together, and then you get, camera fright and all that stuff when 100 or 1,000 people that are watching this necessarily. So
I sure hope so.
I'm not used to this kind of stuff. But also, I think it's good to like put myself out there more, try to be more comfortable with more interviews like these. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Any cosplayers you want to shout out? Like anybody in the community you want to shout out? And I always ask people this, like that may have had an impact on you in the cosplay community, and that, or anybody you would want to recommend to bring to my channel to have a sit down with and talk. If I can do it, I will. I do more than just live stream events and gaming, and just like I want to get more into podcasting styles as well.
Okay, I'm gonna be honest. Nobody's never really like had an impact on me necessarily like that. I've just kind of like had an impact on fictional characters that weren't real. But I will say that I want to say Alex. You know the guy, right? Alex. I recommend interviewing him next.
Since I got social anxiety, if you can set that up, I have no problem doing it. Wait, how far does it stay? I ain't driving no more than 2 hours.
I think he stays in Raleigh.
If you can hook that up for me, I got it.
Bet, gotcha.
Hey, on some real shit, brother, thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for dealing with my rambling. Thank you for telling your story. Appreciate you, brother.
I appreciate you having me here, bro.
And we are